Okay, so today we're diving deep into something pretty interesting.
Right.
It's it's about politics and business and location choices
Sounds
all
good.
coming together.
Yeah.
We found this CBS News Miami article about President Trump,
Right.
and he's going to address GOP lawmakers,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds pretty standard,
Yeah.
typical political stuff.
Right.
But the catch is that he's planning to do this at his own property,
Oh, wow.
Trump National Doral Miami.
That is interesting.
So that's what makes this whole thing a little
Yeah,
more fascinating, a little more nuanced.
definitely.
I mean, it's not every day that you see a president using their own businesses as the backdrop for these kinds of political gatherings.
Exactly. And, it raises a lot of questions about the intersection of politics and personal business,
Right.
the optics of it all.
It's not exactly like every president hangs out at their own resorts to have these discussions.
No, it's not. And, it's interesting because presidents using their own properties isn't entirely new. You can think back to Nixon and his Western White House in California.
Ah, yeah.
But the frequency with which President Trump has chosen to do this has definitely sparked more debate.
I see.
And a lot of it centers around the emoluments clause of the Constitution.
Right, right. The whole idea of preventing foreign influence.
Exactly.
So it's not just about how it looks, it's about potential constitutional issues, too.
Exactly. It's a complex situation.
Definitely a lot of layers here.
Yeah. And then you factor in the location itself, Doral, Miami.
Right, because, Florida is a swing state. We all know that.
Absolutely.
But Doral specifically, it has a large Latinx population,
It does.
and it's historically leaned more Democratic.
Mm-hmm.
So holding a GOP gathering there, it's not exactly preaching to the choir, is it?
It makes you wonder about the intended audience and the message being sent, right?
Exactly.
Especially since this gathering is happening right after President Trump's trip that focused on Colombian deportation. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That timing is really interesting. It almost seems strategic,
It got
like a way to maybe solidify support within his party for these policies.
It's certainly a possibility.
Mm.
You think about it, a GOP gathering in a city with a large Latinx population, fresh off a trip centered around deportation.
Yeah.
Those factors combined create a very specific narrative.
It's almost like every move in this is a calculated step in a bigger political chess game.
Exactly.
And while this article doesn't tell us, the exact topics that are going to be discussed at this gathering,
Right.
it definitely gives us a lot to think about.
A lot to ponder, yeah,
It really does.
for sure.
So, listeners, here's a question for you. How do you think this choice of venue, this location, combined with the recent focus on deportation, how do you think that's going to shape the message that the president delivers to these GOP lawmakers?
Yeah.
And how do you think they're going to receive it?
That's a great question, because it seems like this whole thing is a real-life example of how perception and optics play such a huge role in the world of politics.
Absolutely. It really highlights those things.
It really does.
Yeah.
So that's something for everyone to consider as we watch this unfold.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for joining.